Well, good afternoon, listeners. I'm very excited to be with you today. We are entering summer, and by the time this episode has come out, we've either come close to our 300th episode or we're about to enter just a little bit beyond it. We've been here for 3 years, which is such a gift, so we've had stories for so many different people and careers and passions and interests. I really do encourage you to look back and see if there are any that you find really interesting. I wasn't as good at interviewing then, so I've grown in that. That I'm very grateful for. But I've just been reflecting and so blessed to have been so many different people. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for you guys and your support. But today I have on the podcast Gaeya, and she is a beautiful singer. I came across her I was introduced to her. Her publicist reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this client who's coming out with this new EP in a few weeks. I'd love for you to review her music." And I was listening to some of it, especially Higher Ground, which is one of the first tracks on the EP, and it's coming out June 19th. And I just was like, her voice is beautiful. It just really reminded me of, as strange, I guess, as it is to say, like Arctic ice. It's very clear. It's very visceral. It's very natural. And just with all of the type of auto tunes and different things we have with singers now, it was just so great to listen to something that sounded so real. And Gaeya has such a passion for nature. She has such a passion for the roots of where we come from, for the earth, and for very authentic, honest conversation. And so she was willing to come on the podcast and talk with me. So for those of you who are interested, I will definitely have her her website linked under here. So please check it out. And again, on Spotify and all of that, and where you stream your music, her EP will be coming out June 19th. She also does have music on her YouTube channel. She's come out with some singles already. So please do look at that up. But Gaeya, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be part of your podcast. I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, Gaeya, I've got to ask you, I think it's just appropriate and best to start out with is like your name, Gaeya, very unique. So for people listening, what does Gaeya mean, and what is the significance of the name?
Yeah, it is very central. And I think Gaeya is sort of summarizing everything that I'm doing in this project. And so the name with a different spelling, actually, but it comes from the Greek. So it's, I think there is different meanings of Gaeya too. There is in different cultures, but from the Greek perspective, it is the Greek goddess Gaia, that is the earth goddess, or earth itself. Sometimes it refers to the earth itself, or the spirit of the earth. And for me, everything of what I'm doing with Gaeya, both the music we're doing and the work we're doing around the music, everything is linked to coming back to nature and reestablish that connection and that relationship with nature, because we are nature. So it was a name that just felt like I would like to honor in that way.
And your actual name is not Gaeya, right? That's the name of the... Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Sandra. So yeah, my private name is something different, but yeah, it's Gaeya became a very a name that that for me meant a lot of like stepping into that depth of the earth. And I've always had a very deep relationship with nature, ever since I was a kid. And for a long time, it was I had my relationship and my love for nature and that care and connection. And then I had my other side, which was the more entertaining part, like where I did music, I did entertainment, I did theater, I did dancing and all those things. But they were separate for many years. And then um, I realized that suddenly, oh, I can actually combine these two into one, and then Gaia happened. So it's been a very beautiful journey of exploring, and I started out reconnecting even deeper with nature through the shamanic road too, like in different ways, not only in the sustainable way or like the physical, but also the emotional and the spiritual, you can say, way to nature. So it has meant a lot. But yeah.
So would you consider Gaia almost an entity upon which you serve? So I know we're calling you Gaia, and we're saying introducing your music that way, but it almost seems like Gaia is your purpose in a sense, and so
Yes.
that's kind of why you've named the music that, as opposed to your own name or coming up with something that, it's almost like that's your purpose, which is almost a little bit distinct from who you are as a person, something you're passionate about, but it's
Yeah.
not quite the same. Was that
I mean,
intentional?
it is. I think it's interesting with these things, and I think this comes back to my my feeling and my understanding from my perspective that we are nature. So in that sense, I am Gaia, and I carry that entity or energy in me, and I would say the Gaia is probably the most part of me, like the central part of me in a way, where I can be free to express fully who I authentically truly are. But at the same time, I my mission or my focus with Gaia is to also be a voice for the planet, or for from the perspective that I try to be, be humble and seeking to understand and communicate from a different angle. Maybe it sounds like crazy, but yet this is the way I see it, more like a communication between nature and the listeners. I want to be that kind of translator. And but yeah, Gaia is a big part of me, and I would almost say it's the truest part of me. But it's just a different name.
Yeah.
But the more I work with Gaia, and the more we develop everything. I mean, it is an idea, but it is also um, just something that is. And for me, it's not a lot about to control or create in a way, in a conscious way. I'm very much listening and receiving and
Hmm.
transmitting, or like that's the way I like to work. So yeah.
Well, when did you decide? Because you said before your music was kind of distinct in a way from your own passions when it came to nature, and your spiritual direction. What made you, or what was something that brought together the idea, well, I need to combine these things, like I can't keep them separate anymore? Like, did something happen, or was there something that made you decide you had to join them?
Yeah, I think it's both um, the climate of the world, like how things have changed through the last 20 years. It's things always develop. So that's one part. But I think the most like personal thing for me was that I realized when working in the music industry and being signed with other bands to different major labels and doing television and all these kinds of more um, entertainment business stuff, which is lovely. I don't put it down in any way, but it's like I felt that if I'm gonna be continuing doing this, I need to have an
Hmm.
anchor, and I need to have a purpose. And I think that can be something that can be interesting for any artist and any band to bring into their perception, that if you have something that anchors you and drives you forward, even though things goes down or up or whatever, you still have an anchor to what you're doing.
Yeah.
It always will take you on, and you will not measure your growth or your your career by how many listeners you have only, or like how much you how big is a star you get. It's also
Yeah.
about the purpose and the message you bring forward, whatever that is. But I think that can help to just stay grounded in situations, even though, like, for example, when something gets big, it's even more important to stay grounded. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was just very natural that, okay, it's come to this time where I also, because I started to write my own music. Before that, I had never been doing that. I was working in musical theater with dinner shows and all those things. And it was always performing other people's work and
Hmm.
being directed by other people. And then I realized I have so much creativity that I want to bring forward, or like ideas that I want to share.
Yeah.
And I also realized, okay, maybe I should try to write my own music and perform my own music. And then, yeah, the purpose of Gaia was just, it came into to place. But it was also the concept of Gaia actually started long before the music were made, because Gaia is so much more than the music, and it's actually more, or the music is the central part and the communicational part, but we also are a platform of different community ways of interacting. So one part is, for example, the podcast that I have also. It's
Yeah.
been a bit silent for some time, but it's coming back pretty soon with new episodes. And it's a sustainability podcast where I interview different specialists and experts within regenerative and sustainable matters for nature, and how we can live in closer relationship with nature. So that was one part, to reach out to people and connect with people who are interested in that part.
Hmm.
And then I had this Gaia Sound meditation journey, which is more for those people who are interested in the spiritual side and the connection within, and the connection within and to nature. I'm doing that kind of work. And then we do We Are Nature festivals, and also Gaia Tipi tour that was with me for almost 8 years.
Hmm.
That we went around in the Nordic Sami Lavo at a Tipi tent, and held concerts within that with a fire in the middle, and really to bring people back into a space where we just can be allowed to be for a while, and sharing stories around the fire. So
Yeah.
that's it's a concept in many ways, and reaching people from different angles that cares for nature and shares the same purpose of wanting to see something different in the world, where we come together, unite, and where both planet and people can be free, as I see it.
When did you like have you always believed that because, and correct me if I'm wrong as I'm hearing you, I'm guessing you do believe like nature is God and we are God by way of being in nature. So like there's this like oneness that happens that you would consider God, right? As opposed to there being an entity separate from yourself,
Hmm.
right?
That's an interesting question. I would maybe not explain it in exactly that way, but
Okay.
I do see, like, from my perspective, how I see it. I see a consciousness, a shared consciousness
Okay.
in all life. So
Yeah.
every single plant and every single being on this planet, whether they are animals or um, any kind of matter that contains life that is growing. It can even be rocks in that sense, because, in that sense, I would say that rocks and mountains carry spirit too. It carries way of consciousness in a way too, because it's part of a creation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say you can reflect on this consciousness outside of yourself, but really the consciousness is inside of ourselves. And that's how I see, like,
Okay.
we all are connected. and that I don't see any separation. And it's easy to relate to this kind of understanding of being in like being connected with each other. When we look at nature, it is a direct reflection of that, because all the water that is flowing outside of ourselves has always been inside of us too. It's like the water that flows in you flows in me and flows in everything, and the air that we breathe in, the trees breathe out, and the other way around. So there is no separation in the physical world either. But I also believe that there is no separation in the inner world either. That's where we also are connected. So I maybe wouldn't say that that God is nature, but maybe the consciousness of the higher source, God, whatever you want to call it, or consciousness, or universe, or force, or love, or anything that combines us. Yeah, it's there. I believe anyway, and then we can call it different things. And for me, it doesn't really matter what we call it. It's the connection that we have to it that matters, and the relation we have to other beings when we are in this experience.
You know, it's interesting because in listening to your music, I think even just your latest single, which you released a little bit early just so people could hear a bit of your upcoming growth album, um, The Lucky Ones. I was listening to that and I was seeing your music video and just the very visceral movements that you were making, and you were talking about, and tell me if I'm wrong, but as I was listening to the lyrics, it was talking about, we have been chosen, and we are creators in a sense, and we are the voices being able to, from what I was understanding, speak for nature in a sense and bring back this idea of oneness with nature, returning to nature, seeing the importance of nature. Um, And it made me think, because I was wondering when you were mentioning us being creators in a way, um, that's where I was wondering if believing in us being nature, if there is a creator, or if a creator is us. So there's not really a higher power of any sort that creates, but we are the higher power that creates. Because I know reading a lot of, oh, what's his name? I'm thinking of that poet who talks about living in a cabin. The American poet. People don't know what I'm talking about, but he talks about how he goes to nature for 2 years and he builds a cabin, and he just talks about how he really feels one with nature, like there isn't anything else but that. And that's a consciousness that he just gets sucked into, in a sense, but then at the same time, he's part of it. So he doesn't really see something as higher than the consciousness itself, which is him too. So, which can sound confusing, but I guess that's the question I was asking is, for you in your spiritual journey, in times of trial or in times when things are going well, or when, if you want to thank or if you want to express gratitude, certain, so many religions have an entity, somebody that they do that to. And so I wondered, for you, is there a specific entity for you that you do that for? Or is it more, I express my thanks for the nature and the life that I live through creating something for the consciousness, which is nature?
Wow, thank you. Yeah, this is really great questions and reflections too. And
Yeah, and I don't want you
yes,
to feel it's do not feel at
no,
all
no,
pressure. I
no,
was like, I'm
no,
just
no, no.
very
I'm
interested to
feeling just
know.
excited. I'm feeling just excited. I'm just trying to go back to where you started, but I'm gonna just jump straight into where and then I hopefully answer all the questions that you asked, and otherwise you just repeat them to me. But it's as I see it, it's like, as I said, the consciousness is in everything, in every living thing, and I can also see that, or from my perspective, it is that we, as both human beings or other beings, we are reflections of the same consciousness. So the same consciousness, or God, or whatever you want to call it, we are different conscious beings reflecting on its own reality. Like, for example, that it is coming from the same consciousness, but we get in here with different experiences. The same consciousness experiencing itself through different bodies or different vessels in order to grow, so in order to expand. And we put on different way of expressions, different ways of life, of living, of and experiences of life in order to find new understanding of life and life in different forms. And I see this as a multi-universal kind of a way of looking at it, that if there is a thought, if it's ever been a thought, it is existing. Everything exists, because it is, and I do believe that we are creators in a way, but that doesn't mean that that there is not a sense of a higher entity, higher connection. But that could also be like, we can view that as our higher self, that is the connection to God, for example, that we are that. But I do believe that my strongest connection to that source is to go within, into taking off all the shields and all the identity of who we have become in this role, in this time, in this life. And just when we get out of this kind of space-time illusion and just connects to the pure essence of ourselves, then I feel that we are totally in in the consciousness of everything, and we can receive and get information and connections to other aspects and other ways of seeing life. And I think it can help many times when we, in the way we live in the world right now, and the things that we experience as heavy and dark also, it can help to see that we can shift perspectives. We can lift ourselves up to a higher perspective and see what things that are heavy and not so nice at all are actually helping to push the good forward and making decisions for people. Like we are forced into something that we have to take a decision. Who do we want to be, and what do we want our life to look like? So not everything that is bad or dark has to be destructive in a way, if we not choosing it to be that, because we can learn from it and we can develop, and we can also grow from that perspective. And I think that's everything that has to do with the music I'm releasing right now, is that don't fear the darkness, the process, the things that is coming up to the surface, because it comes up for the reason for us to choose. And in this way, we are the creators of our reality. We can change the matter around us. We can change our own consciousness by the choices that we make, by the actions that we take, and choosing love over fear, and choosing love over hate, and compassion, for example, over hate. So it's it is very universal, and at the same time, like you say, it's the easiest way of coming back to this stillness and connection is many times to be in nature, because nature is there, is supporting all the time. It gives
Right.
us life, it gives us everything that we need on this planet. And trying to fight nature, it's like fighting ourselves, because we need nature. We are 100% dependent on a healthy ecosystem to have clean water to drink and fresh air to breathe and food to eat. And
Mm.
by destroying ecosystems, we destroy our own ecosystems, and we will not be able to live on this planet if we continue hurting it, because we hurt ourselves. And so it's like chasing an artificial dream that is separated from life is always going to be an illusion from the reality that we live in. And I think many times we both in the artificial world and like the digital world, we disconnect ourselves from this planet, from the life that we are living.
Mm.
And we forget that we are here in such a small part of the earth's time. It's like a millisecond of the whole existence of the earth.
Mm.
And we just running around chasing something that is not real, or that is outside of ourselves, that we can't really connect with fully. But we always have, just by taking a deep breath and just letting our shoulders drop for a while, going out in nature. And even though you're not in nature, if you're in a city, it can be enough to just find a tree, talk to your plant at your home, like whatever. Go out in the lawn and just place your feet straight on the ground, barefoot, feeling the connection directly to the earth. And
Yeah.
there is something that is in our DNA that is meant to be working with that. And it's so sad that people have or humanity have come so far away from the natural thing, from what has carried life and made us survive for all these thousands of years. And in this small fractional time, we managed to disconnect ourselves for the last 2,000 years so badly that we have lost our way of purpose, maybe knowing what is the purpose of being here. And I do
Yeah.
believe that it is to grow, to to evolve and grow. And
Mm.
something that's anti-life, something that is artificial and not life, will never grow. It's not
Mm.
possible, because it's not life. And so honoring life is like the most beautiful thing that we have. And and when you asked also about entities, or like if when giving thanks to something, I I absolutely believe that there is entities around us, and we can both create those entities, and they can be with us, like from the
Mm.
start. I think that everything is possible, and also because we are part of the creation and we also live in the creation, we can, like anything that you feel is real to you
Yeah.
is your reality. It is real to you. And I think this is, if people would stop and like not or drop down their ego of like, hey, I know the truth, I have the right answer to everything, and just realizing that every single person has her and his and him, like their own perception of life and their own reality. And we meet in all this entanglement of realities, and maybe somewhere down that road of exploring, we will find to the same core in the end. I don't know, but that's,
Mm.
maybe it's just about letting go of the perceptions of what is right, what is wrong, what is reality, what is not reality, and just feel what is true to you. And that might not be the same tomorrow as it is today, but that's also okay,
Yeah.
because we grow, we evolve, and that's life. Yeah.
I do want to ask you, when did you start believing this? Like, when was there a time in your childhood, or just when? Because I know for most individuals I've spoken to, and for myself, your worldview shapes early in life, and then maybe it's going to change later on based on experiences you have. But when for you did you believe this? Like, did you grow up under a certain religion of some kind, or believing a certain thing, or is this something that an experience happened and you were like, this was something that you learned from that? How did you come to believe so strongly in what you do now, in essence, in Gaia, in a sense?
I think that, or I've heard this from my parents too, that I've always been a thinker. I'm also a person that loves to analyze and like I love to see things from different angles, trying to put myself in other people's perspective, and like
Mm.
trying to be humble to understand that I don't know everything. I will never know everything. And I actually know when you think that you're starting to have a bit of understanding, you're realizing that actually you didn't know, you didn't have a clue. And so the only thing you can know for sure is that you don't know anything. And that is kind of relieving in a way, and humbling too. And I think that I mean, I'm Aquarius too, if you into these kinds of signs, so that maybe tells a bit of the story. But I think from a very early age, I was always and it's like, I know my mother said, like, yeah, when I was 2 years old, I started to talk about what happens when you die, and
Mm.
why is life like this? Why is certain people having more trouble than others? And my mom never gave me any answers, but she always asked me back, like, what do you think? Like, how do you feel? And
Mm.
she never corrected me, but she was always listening and being very open-minded about my ways. And she was definitely not spiritual, and we don't have any religious background at all. We are not Christians in that sense. I mean, Sweden is not a very religious country,
Mm.
even though the church, like you get baptized in a Protestantic church, and uh, for most people do, but it's not the same as I know in the US. The religion is very central for many people, but here it's not the same. But we have, I think, most Swedish people would say that the connection and the temple for them is in nature, and
Mm.
so we have a very strong relationship to nature, even though it is a Christian country. And and I guess the pagan time has never really left here fully. So so it's underneath the surface. The Viking spirit is still underneath somewhere. But yeah, I so it's always been there. But because of that, I've always been very exploring, and I would in a way say that I when I was maybe 7 to 15, I was quite of a seeker. I was very interested in religions, all kinds of religions. I read
Mm.
the Bible, I read the Quran, like I read different about the Buddhist teachings, and I
Mhm.
really wanted to understand different concepts of religion, and but also spiritual connections. And from that, I started to find, like, always trying to navigate what's true to me, what feels good for me. And
Mm.
and then, of course, a lot of I've had a life where a lot of things have happened that has required uh, for me to meet myself many times over
Mm.
and over again in different ways, and also getting to know who you are, uh, even when things happen to you, and not identifying to those things but learn from them. So not only
Mm.
staying in them, bringing the yeah, the learning, or like the growth from that process and take on. So I had a, or I have had a journey that has taken me into, and I think for many people that are, I don't know how also with your listeners, but many people today is searching, and they are searching for spiritual connection, whether it is through religion or for alternative stuff, or like through meditation, yoga, plant medicines, or anything. And I think for me, I was very naive when I was young. I believed that everyone was good, everything was like nice and pleasant. But I learned also that people are very hurt and destroyed, and sometimes they moved so far away from their true essence and from their heart that they are able to put on experiences to other people that is actually not uh, light at all, and not good. But it is it's also a dance there, like all those bad stuff that happens to you, like even they can be horrible, there is always a possibility to grow from that, to learn something from that, and even have compassion. I mean, have compassion for that person might be possible sometimes, might not be sometimes. I'm not the one to judge, but for me, the hardest part many times is to forgive yourself and have compassion for yourself. And so I think going through all these layers, working on yourself in many layers, it has just brought me to a humbleness where I feel like, yeah, we don't know anything, and we are just here to explore. But in this way, we are able to create, and we can choose. We have a choice. So therefore, like Lucky Ones is. Uh, like it's saying what I want to say with that. That even though we go through difficult parts of our lives, and we maybe are in a really difficult situation in our life at the moment, we still have the power to change this existence and this way of. It can be by small things that can just help us cope the day until we take the next step and the next step. But we are co-creators, and the more love we show, the more compassion we show, the more true we are to our own truth, speaking it with love and also with a humbleness that not everyone feels the same, but you still have your own dignity, not forcing anything on others, but just standing in your dignity and you holding your own power and your own truth. It gives permission for others to do the same. And I think what we're lacking in this world is that people are unempowered. They feel unempowered. They are not unempowered because we have that still in us, but we believe that we don't have that power, or that we can't choose, that we can't create whatever we want, that we can't take ourselves out from a situation. But you can always do that. Sometimes it takes more effort, sometimes it takes longer, but we can always change it. And many times just by our way of thinking, by perceiving our reality. It can be like night and day in a situation, because people around us might see our situation like, hey, why don't you do this instead? And it would change everything, because they are from a higher perspective. They see it from an outside perspective. And sometimes we get too narrow into our own world and the ways we have walked along this path. But if we stop for a while, maybe go out in nature and reconnect with the land, we can like lift ourselves up for a higher perspective, and look at our life in a different way, and saying like, hey, can I do something different here? Can I make something different within my thinking to perceive my reality in different ways? And once we do that, and when we take action into that, things around us automatically change. Like it changed quite quickly, and especially now, because so many people are in these kinds of processes. It's like when you start set a seed somewhere, or become true to yourself, it starts a ripple effect with people around you. And so by smiling to people when you meet them on the street or talking to someone and just being supportive and kind and choosing to be kind to yourself and to others,
Hmm.
it reminds other people that they can be that too. And then suddenly things can really change quickly. And the people and the situations and the energies that doesn't fit into that will automatically fade away. So that's why I believe that we never have to force a change. It is about really um, planting new seeds, like knowing what you want to create, focusing on the things that you do want to see in your life, and
Hmm.
focusing on those things, focusing on the community or the new world that you want to build. If you want to
Yeah.
live in eco villages, or you want to create a world where people are free, where we don't have money systems or slavery systems or whatever like we want to call it, but this kind of corrupt systems that hold people in place, we don't have to focus on that system. We can focus on the stuff that we do want to create. And then suddenly, with enough people, or when that concept gets strong enough in our
Hmm.
reality, in our own focus, those other things will just dissolve. It's not going to be interesting anymore. And for some people, it might always be interesting. And that can be a different thing. Um, and this is of course very mystical, but I think this is how it works. Like our reality is bendable and time is bendable. It's not linear. it is it's much more mystical than we think. And this is also acknowledged in science now too. I mean, in quantum physics, we're starting to be able to explain these kinds of things, that the universe is not as we have thought it to be, and matter is not the same as we thought it to be, maybe, and time is not what we thought it to be. There is like the concept of how we have perceived life and or time or whatever it is for the last few thousand years, like one 2,000 years, starting to change, because we as humans starting to open up more possibilities, both within our brains, that we get more access to things if we use it, but also that we that we it's about paradigm shifting. Like when enough people starting to see the reality in a different way, a paradigm shift happens, and I think that's where we are right now. We're about to take a leap into another paradigm, and so it's kind of a confusing time we are right now, because one day it can feel so easy and light and happy, and you can see possibilities in your life and in the world, and then a minute later or a day later, it feels like a disaster, and it feels like
Yeah.
heavy and everything's bad. And so we are in this kind of balance at the moment, but that makes it even more important to choose, what do I want in life? Where am I heading? uh, what do I want to leave as a mark on this planet when I leave this earth? And hopefully we can choose to do something that will not only impact our own lives in a good way, but also impact other people and other life forms in a positive and good way too.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you about when you were talking about perspective. I mean, perspective is so important because a lot of, for instance, if you struggle with, mental illness or anxiety, depression, right? A lot of times you're viewing something and you may be seeing it inaccurately. There is a truth that you're not seeing or that you're ignoring. But I did want to ask you because, you know, for so many people, and it sounds like you've gone through some very hard things as well, there are realities that happen to you that are really bad. Like they may be making you grow, which is a very healthy, I think, perspective to have. But at the same time, they are very sad, bad things, like just inherently in of themselves, someone's death or something that is done to you that violates your dignity or hurts you as a person and scars your future, in the sense of it's not something you'll ever forget or it's hurtful to you in some way. Those are realities that even if you can change or see a perspective of, oh, I can see how this grew me, it still doesn't change the reality, though, that that was not good in and of itself. And so I
Mm.
wonder, when you're talking about changing reality in a sense by what you think, don't you think, though, there are some things that you can't, that will always be reality? Now, you may change how you accept or look at something, but at the same time, that in and of itself doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, an action is an action. If an action is hurtful, if someone has done something horrible, it is still horrible. It is still a bad action. And the consequences of that will be there in one way or another. And I think it is important to acknowledge that too. It is important to acknowledge and also to feel, because this is can be misinterpreted sometimes when we talk about like moving on, like growing from things, is that, oh yeah, I should just put away the bad things that happen and it's just gonna be there. It's not about that at all. It is really to face it, and when we are facing it, because when something bad happens to us, it is also and this for example, if someone has gone through a rape, and this is really hard stuff to talk about, but
Hmm.
it is, you get conflicted uh, with the both the guilt, uh, or let's start with you first, you can, people around you of course see that you are the victim and the person who have done this to you are the bad guy and should get the shame for it. But many times you, as the victim, feel the shame, and
Oh,
maybe the
yeah.
person who did it doesn't feel any shame
Hmm.
or guilt or anything. So the person that is done to is the one to deal with the shame, the guilt, the fear, the anxiety, maybe, the hate, and not
Hmm.
only to that person, but to yourself too. Because many people that have gone through this stuff, they also questioning their own, like, how could I do this to me? How could I not
Right.
stop this? How could I allow this? And that can be the hardest part to forgive. But this is where we need to forgive ourselves in order to be able to forgive other things. And I think that we have to start with ourselves in that sense. We have to have compassion with ourselves, and it doesn't, like, if someone has done something bad to you, I'm not the one to judge if you don't want to um, um, forgive that person, because that's up to you if you want to do that or not.
Hmm.
But what it can help to do, if you have the ability to forgive, is that you can release it because it's not longer yours. Because as long as we have this bond in between us, like when someone do something bad to you, there is a bond connected. There is like a string connected in between the two people.
Hmm.
Because if you do something good to a person, you also get connected. There will also be a connection in between. But what is important to understand is that we also have to let those go in order to heal. Because if we keep on being in that energy, we will never heal from it, because it will be there reminding us and sucking energy from us. And I think that's the part when we can grow, is that we have to find a way of healing ourselves, and that can be in different ways. There is no no right answer for this. It can be,
Hmm.
maybe you have to speak up to this person, telling exactly what you want, what your experience was. Maybe we have to put down boundaries, but we can do that in so many different ways, and there is no right or wrong there. But but also that we have a possibility to change our way and choose love instead of going back with the same energy, because it's never gonna, like, war is always gonna create more war. um, if this makes sense. I know this
But
is
yeah.
really hard for many people to take in, but it is like hate will always fuel hate. It will never release anything. It will never heal anything. And so the only way we can truly heal is to forgive ourselves, and in the end forgive the other person or the other thing, or like at least let go, and just understand, choose to walk away with the parts that we
Yeah.
care about or that has made us grow. And in really bad things that happens in the world, it is hard to see why do they happen, and there is no answer to why they happen, because there's horrible things that should not happen, that should not have to happen. But in that way, if we keep on creating more of that energy, we won't get out of that cycle. So we have
So
to
when you
choose something.
Oh, I was just
Yeah.
going to say, when you say forgive yourselves, for people who are listening, you're saying forgive ourselves. Are you saying forgive ourselves of the bad things we have done, or forgive ourselves of the bad ways we have viewed things? What are we forgiving ourselves of?
I mean, it can be anything. It can also be
Anything.
like forgiving ourselves for this stuff that we didn't do, that
Okay.
we didn't that we didn't say no, for example, or that we didn't stand up for ourselves. Or there's many different uh, reasons why people hold self judgment to themselves, or keep themselves in a hurtful energy or self hatred. Many people carry self hatred in one way or another, or not everyone hatred, but dislike in one
Right.
way or another in life. And I think that's where we have to forgive ourselves, that we are humans, we are experiencing, we get triggered by things, we get triggered by other humans, by patterns, by things that happen from our childhood, that happens in our adult life, that and and it's like we are humans, and it is okay to do mistakes. It's not the same as the action that we did was okay, because it might not have been okay at all, but we do make mistakes, and even though they are horrible, we have the possibility to change, and we have the possibility to be a better person today than we were tomorrow, than we were yesterday. and
Yeah.
and so both if you've done something that is hurting others, or if you have been the one receiving something that has hurt you from others, it is about forgiveness, and forgiving yourself, and also choosing where do you want to be, who do you want to be,
Yeah.
and changing, because the only thing that is happening is now. There is nothing else that is happening, it's only now, because yesterday is not happening. And tomorrow is not happening. It's just happening now. And this is how we change our reality. And we also can change our history in a way, because of the actions that we do today. So that's how we change the planet's direction, is by choosing today what action we want to take today, who we want to be today. That would
Yeah.
change the future, but it will also change the past.
Yeah. I think, because I think one thing I respect so much about what you believe is the fact that there is such a desire to grow, there is a desire to feel deeply, there is a desire to see the world in such a big way and to live in a way that is not cultural. Like, we live materialistically. That's not what you want to do. That's not what many individuals I have talked to believe similarly as you do. I was speaking with a woman she would consider herself a pagan fairy, actually. And we were talking about how, for her, like, she was saying that she doesn't want to believe in a sense, the religions of the world, because they don't do anything to help people. They seem to divide people more as opposed to bringing people together. And something I think that I find I find that beautiful, that desire to connect with one another so closely. It is hard though when I listen and I think, cuz I think it's so hard to think there's nothing else though than just us. And like, when you're talking about us being responsible for everything in the sense of like growth and change, and like it's so, because there's so many people you watch
It's
in life
overwhelming.
that never
It feels
change.
overwhelming.
What?
That it feels overwhelming. I'm sorry for
Oh
interrupting
yeah,
you.
no, it's overwhelming, and also it's like there's no one to help you but
Mm.
yourself. And if you yourself are so broken and you're trying to make yourself less broken, do you know what I mean? It sounds
Yes,
just
and I
like,
it can be overwhelming. Yeah, and I think this is very. I'm really grateful that you're taking up this perspective, because I don't want it to sound that that you are alone, because you have support, and I think this is very important to acknowledge. And a part of this way of creating, like, and this is where prayer, for example, to a god, or to, for me, for example, I always pray to either to a as I like the higher source, or
mm-hmm,
to my higher self, like getting connection to my higher self, or my spiritual guides, or whatever you want to call it, or nature, or like angels, or anything. I mean, from my perspective, they are there to help us, and we
okay,
are supported. Always, we are always supported. But it is also about what we put our focus in. If we don't ask for help, if we don't feel like we are worthy of help, if we then we push away that energy of support. And we can
mm,
explain that in a simple way of law of attraction. I mean, this is where I'm breaking everything down, and it can seem harsh, but it is not meant like that, because what I mean is that you can view it from a very scientifical way of viewing it too. You could view it from that you have particles communicating with each other, and that's why physics change, or like mental states change, or whatever. But you can also see that you have your spirit guides, or that you have your angels supporting you, or that God is supporting you, or you can see it as the way that, like, that the law of attraction is probably the law of attraction is very closely linked to the quantum physics stuff, for example, because we have frequency, and
mm,
the frequency we send out will be received, and will be creating both disturbance and harmony in the fields of the universe, and it will respond to each other and respond off each other. So we can view this in a scientific way, and we can also view it in a way that is spiritually connected, and like connected to religion, or to, it doesn't matter like what, in what way we're doing this. it the thing is that you find the way that is right for you, the connection that feels right to you, and whether that is God, or connection to Jesus, or a connection to angels, or to spirits, or to the Elvic fairy people, or to anything, like anything, anything that makes you happy, that makes you feel the support. It can be the love, because they are there. It is there. We are protected, and I think that this is where our strength is coming from, like that we hold this power, whether we see it as it is something that is inside of ourselves or
Hmm.
supported around us, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, like it is there. And we carry everything we need with us, but we have to both believe in that, but also that we have to ask sometimes, and that every single human being on this planet are worthy of love. You are loved by being just you. And I really wish everyone to feel that truly,
Hmm.
because it's true. Because you're born, you're here, you serve a purpose on this planet, and you're
Hmm.
important. If you leave, there is a space left. Like, you're not here, you're needed here.
Hmm.
And so by and that's where the choice comes in. We can choose our our heart and our actions, that it doesn't matter like if we do it for ourselves, but it creates good for others. And I think we should focus on that. It's not about like being the ego, I'm just doing it for myself. But when we do something that feels true to ourselves and feels right, and brings joy and happiness, if it brings joy into your life, then I would say most of almost every time, I would say almost, I mean, pure loving joy, not like any sickness kind of joy. But then it is like creates good for others too. It won't hurt other people.
Hmm.
So if it doesn't hurt other people, other animals, other beings, this planet or whatever, and it makes you happy, then it's true to you and it's your way. And I mean, we can't save everyone. There is a lot of people on the planet, but everyone is worthy of this. Every single one, even the people that feel like they've done the worst things in the world, and maybe have done that too. But I really want to give that we can change, and we
Hmm.
can forgive ourselves. We can move on, and we can change a different way, choose a different way of living. And it can be small steps, but doing it for the good for you and good for others. And
Yeah.
yeah, I hope I'm not troubling people too much with
No,
things,
and you know,
because they
Gaia,
are hard questions.
no, and
Yeah.
I wanna be respectful of your time, but I just wanna say you have such like when I'm listening to you, you have such a calm and like earnest spirit about you. And that's just so obvious, like the fact that you want to use music not to gain something, not to become rich and famous, or to be talked about all the time. Like your real desire with this is just to share what you believe so that you can help people. And that's just very clear in what you do and in your music. And so I'm so grateful you would sit here with me for an hour and explain to me what you think it, why you've made this album. And I'm just so grateful we got to have this conversation. And I hope that it wasn't too overwhelming with all my questions.
No, I rather hope it wasn't too overwhelming with my answers. I'm
No, I'm
I'm
so
just
grateful
very
you wanted to
happy.
talk about it. You
I'm
really
I'm so
wanted to
grateful for
explain.
this. Yes, I'm so grateful for these questions, because I think they are the most important questions that we can ever ask ourselves and others, that we have to have more of these conversations.
Mm,
And no one is sitting on the answers. I am not sitting on the answers. So my words might not be your truth, and that is should be so. It's okay. And sometimes we are linking into each other what feels right at the moment, and that's also okay. So it's but it is, I think, always beautiful to share these kinds of conversations, because they open us up to a different perspective I mean, it opens me up for a different perspective, and it opens hopefully more people up for different perspectives, that there is so much to explore in this world, and there is so much hope in this world. And this is what I love with the name of your podcast too, that I mean, hope is really the thing that is, it should be streaming through everything, and it is a force that carries us forward, and a force that we need to really cherish and acknowledge, because there is hope. It's both hope for the planet, for the future, and it's hope for you, for us. Like, I mean, you people who are listening to you and I, everyone on this planet, we carry hope for the future, hope for a better world, and we can do things, and we can do much more than we ever think is possible, and it's all up to believing that it's possible, and things can change much quicker than we think. So yeah, so I'm really grateful for you wanting to spend time with me and answering these questions, and I hope that this EP Growth, which is the second EP we're releasing, the first one was Awakening, and it follows the steps of an awakening process, you could say, maybe. But yeah, the steps of seeing the world in a different way, and like questioning things and trying to find your truth and all those stuff. And the Growth EP is about the reflection, the meeting the stuff that is not really nice to meet. I mean, it's not nice to see the reality sometimes that we have narrowed ourselves into, and the reality we have created as a humanity for so many years, and what it has turned out to be be the receipt of that is not nice to see, but it is necessary to see it in order to know what we want to create instead, and how to move on from that to a higher perspective and to a new and different foundation. And and not fearing change. Do not fear change, because it is natural. It's like the cycles of nature. We go from spring to summer, where it all like flourish and it's beautiful and everything is great, and then the autumn comes and it decays, and it's like, it's beautiful too, but it's like the time has come to let it go, and the winter comes and it's all in silence. The emptiness appears, and it's time for reflection. It's time for going inside. And then the spring comes again, and the leaves that fell in the autumn is now richening the grounds and the soil for new life to spring. And we are in the springtime now. We have come from winter, at least in this part of the world, in the northern part of the world, and or western part of the world. So no, northern part. I'm sorry, I'm confused.
No, you're good. Geography is hard.
But it is like it is there, and so yeah, never fearing the emptiness that may occur, and the feelings of confusion and fear and all that, but we take a deep breath and know that you have the support. It is there, and we are in this together. We are on this planet together. That's also important to know, that you are not alone in your struggles. We are here on this planet together. So let's try to reach out to each other. Let's check in on each other. Let's check in on our friends, on our neighbors, on people we meet on the street. If they don't feel, we can see that there is something there, like, be open to that. Like, take a moment, talk to that person, asking how are you, care for people, and also dare to go out and speak to others about how you feel. Be honest, because many times we share much more than we could ever possibly imagine. Nothing should be strange in this world, and the more we talk, the better the better things
Yes.
will be if we have compassion.
Well, Gaeya, thank you so much again. Such a gift to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah. Lovely to
Bye.
speak to
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, listeners, thank you so much for listening to the episode. And I'm popping on here to finish this out because there were a lot of things talked about in this episode. Many deep things. Many things about life. Many things about living. I really would encourage you, if you feel you want to, please, there's conversation below. Please comment, ask questions. I think it's really good that we dive into worldviews and ask questions, and a lot of the things that Gaeya mentioned were things that you might have follow-up questions to. Please do start a discussion below. And again, I'm so grateful for you guys. You're the reason this podcast is continuing on, and I'm so grateful. So I hope to see you soon, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye now.